Okay, so I kind of wanted to talk today about suicide. Um, I had I had just gotten out of the shower today, and on my Facebook page, there was a comment on there from somebody that I'm friends with on Facebook, who said that she had just watched the show on Netflix, 13 Reasons Why, and she put, "You can't blame others for your choices." Now, the reason I wanted to talk about this is because that's a very harsh comment to make. Not necessarily that she's wrong. It's just, it's not black and white. There's more to it than that. And it's hard because suicide is such a difficult topic because basically, unless you've actually, tried to commit suicide or you've, known somebody that has, how can you possibly know? It's not everything you'd think it is. So I kind of just wanted to talk about that today. I haven't watched the show on Netflix. I have seen commercials for it. Apparently it's about a 13-year-old, I'm sorry, not 13. Apparently it's about a girl who commits suicide, and she leaves behind 13 reasons why she did. Here's the thing. I am suicidal. I am depressed. And I have high anxiety. It started when I was pretty young. Basically, there was a misunderstanding in elementary school, and my mother thought that I was suicidal because that's what the nurse told her. And either when I was in first or second grade, I can't exactly remember, she institutionalized me for being suicidal, and then I was put on all kinds of medications that actually made me suicidal. They, some of the side effects of some of those medications actually say, your suicide depression may worsen. So if you don't have suicidal tendencies and you're not depressed, you probably shouldn't be taking those, because it actually did make me quite suicidal. And not only that, but it messes up everything. I started gaining weight really, really fast. And I was even an active kid. I was in cheerleading and basketball and tap dancing and ballet, and I loved those things. I always loved them. And I lived in a town where, you were pretty much brought up to be active. You ran. I would ride my bike all over the neighborhood, even down to a couple neighborhoods over to go see my best friend. And we were just active. And but I still gained weight faster than you could possibly imagine. And I started hallucinating and seeing things that weren't there, and I started having nightmares. I just kind of went crazy, in a sense. And so here's the thing, though. I wasn't really suicidal, and I wasn't really unhappy with my life until all that happened. But then, when that happened, people started looking at me differently because I started acting differently. And these medications were making it very difficult to counteract those weird impulse and urges to do crazy things and say crazy things, especially when you're a kid. And I started to have little weird outbursts and started to get very depressed very quickly. And, they'd institutionalize me again, and they'd up my dosage or change my medications, which then just kind of makes you all screwed up. And, I know my mother thought she was doing what was best for me, but it wasn't what was best for me. And nobody would listen to me because they thought that was just me talking to try and get me off medication or whatever. And they didn't want to risk, having me try and do something. So it just got worse. And, people started treating me differently. I had kids that were calling me a freak and telling me I was fat. And I started to take on that. Especially as a young kid, you start to kind of believe them. And then my mother even started telling me, "Sarah, you're gaining a lot of weight, and don't eat that. Portion control, and you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't say that. And man, Sarah, you look really fat today." And there's even this one time I was 8 years old, and we were getting ready to go out, and I had this green shirt on, and this was when I first started gaining the weight. and she told me, Sarah, you look like you're 9 months pregnant. And that hurts. And then even when I got older, and I was off the medication, at that time I was living with my dad, and I told him I want to be an actress. I've always loved being on stage. I love it so much. And I always wanted to be an actress, ever since I was a little girl. And I finally got the courage to tell him that I'm serious about this. This is something I really want to do. And he told me, Sarah, that's great. I'm so excited for you, and I think you'll be great. And I got this little glimmer of hope. And then he told me, but you might want to lose some weight first, because there's not a lot of people your size out there. And I took that on. I didn't listen to the part where he said, oh, you'll do great, or that's exciting, or I'm glad, or I'm happy for you. I heard, you're too fat. Because that's what I had been told growing up. And you take that on. Every day. Every day somebody says something new, you take it on. It's easy to ignore one person, but when a lot of people are doing it, or even if that one person just says it every day over and over and over and over and over again, sometimes you just take that on. And it's hard once you've started to stop. It's easy if you're tough and you can just block it out and you never let it get to you. But when you're not, you take it on and you can't stop. You just start letting it in. And then it's not even so much that you believe it, it's just the fact that it keeps replaying over and over and over and over and over in your head. And then you start to really start listening to it. And then it's almost like your mind tricks you into thinking that you believe it. And then you start to believe it. And so, right now I am 22. I'm going to be 23 here soon. And I still wake up every morning and I look at myself in the mirror and I think about all the different ways I could commit suicide. First thing in the morning, that's what I do. I think about all the different ways to commit suicide that I have thought of. And I tell myself, it would be great if I just could. If I could just leave it all behind and just quit. And then I tell myself I'm fat. Or, I've got a lot of acne I need to work on. Or I'm broke and I'm just not doing anything with my life. And I'm just in a rut and I'm worthless and I just can't do it. And I just keep sitting there telling myself this over and over again until it just kind of builds. And then I choose to take those few seconds afterwards. And I tell myself, you have really pretty eyes. I love the color of your eyes. Or, you've got really pretty lips, man. I mean, beautiful full-figure lips. You look awesome in those lips. Thank God for those lips. And then you tell yourself something else, like, man, thank God for all this fat, otherwise you wouldn't have those incredible boobs to fill out that shirt. And then you try and tell yourself something else. And that's how I get through. So no, I can't say that I can blame myself for anything that I do, because I have made the choice every single morning to get up and to contradict all those voices in my head. And to contradict everything that everybody has ever said about me. And to make the choice to love myself. And that was not easy. And that certainly took a lot of time. And a lot of courage. And honestly, it wasn't even something I really thought about doing. It was just some random thing one morning I woke up and I thought, oh, that's kind of cool, your eyes, the way that they do that thing in that light, And then I realized that I liked my eyes better the next day. And I thought to myself, if I could just tell myself something positive to even if it's not necessarily that I love my fat, which I really don't yet, but at least if I tell myself something like, I love my boobs, which are a result of the fat, then that contradicts the way I look at things and the way that I take on all those negative words and negative thoughts. Have I woken up, before and thought nothing but great things? Yes. Does it happen every day? No, not yet. But I'm working on it. But there are people out there that haven't had that yet. That haven't had the opportunity or even had the courage or even just the thought of contradicting those thoughts. And then, it's really hard to do that. It's like one person trying to scream out something in a crowd of 10 million that are saying something else. It takes a lot of effort. I mean, a lot of effort for that one person to be heard by everybody. And sometimes you may not be able to be heard by everybody. But you can get so far with practice. Just keep screaming and screaming and screaming. You know, all those 10 million people keep saying, you're fat, you're fat, you're fat. Just keep saying, I got big boobs. Woo! And you just keep trying until that next row hears you. And then the row after that. And then the row after that. And then eventually, all you hear is yourself. And, it's hard. It's really hard. And I still think about suicide all the time. But, no, I can't blame myself. But you can't just look at that so negatively and put it all on the person that committed suicide or that's thinking about committing suicide. Because, you know, it's almost like, it's not that they just woke up one morning and thought, you know what, I'm done, I can't do this anymore, I'm just going to kill myself. It's a progression, it's a process, and it's not something that's easy to think about. You know, anytime I've ever thought about committing suicide, it scares me to pieces. It's not like, oh, I'm just going to do it and it's going to be a great relief and I'm going to feel so much better the next, you know, time I wake up, I'm going to be in some great place. No, it's terrifying. It's a gut-wrenching feeling to sit there holding a knife and thinking about it. Or, you know, looking at guns and sitting there thinking, man, that would be so nice. It's not quite like that. It's more difficult than that. Yes, there are those thoughts where, like, you know, oh my gosh, I would be done. I wouldn't have to deal with any of this anymore. But it's still a terrifying thought. And it's still something that not everybody wants to do. It's not like we choose to want to kill ourselves. And it's just difficult. It's very difficult. So the next time that you're watching that show, you know, try and think of it in a different way. I mean, like I said, I haven't seen it, so I can't say for sure, but I'm sure that girl really took on everything that everybody said and everything that was being done to her, going on around her. And instead of wanting to blame herself, because she probably felt really guilty too, maybe she just tried to explain what drove her to that point, or what made her even consider it, you know, and just look at it differently. And if you're one of those people that are saying something negative, just don't. What good is that? You know? What good is saying something negative to somebody? What good is it to tell somebody you're fat? What does that do? They obviously know it. It's not like we're blind. We don't just wake up in the morning and look at ourselves in the mirror and say, oh, I am so thin. I mean, man, oh my gosh, I need to eat more. No, it's not like that. We know. We're not stupid. We know. So don't tell us. We don't need to hear that. Tell us something else. Tell us, man, I like your eyes. We might love to hear that. I like to hear that. Anytime somebody tells me I have beautiful eyes, I love hearing that. Because that's something that I can add into my every morning ritual of drowning out the noise. Yesterday, that guy told me I had pretty eyes. That was great. You do. You have beautiful eyes. Listen to that. Say that. And then, who knows? If you tell them that, they'll probably tell you something great too. Guy tells me I have pretty eyes. Hey, thank you so much. You know, you have really nice hair. I like your hair. Or, you know, something else. Just try and think about the way that you say things to people. Because it matters. And that's pretty much it.